Ripper Street episode 3, Glittering Blades. This episode is a bit of a slowdown. It really focuses on the exiled life of Nathaniel Dove. So his brother has put him in this cabin out in the Hackney marshes, and he's just fishing, living in a cabin, selling eels to a fishmonger. Nathaniel is very lonely in this solitude. Before, even though he's a monster and a killer and a cannibal, he still had friends-ish, in Crocker. Yeah, now he's just kind of completely all alone. Sees his brother every couple of days, but that's it. So he's very, very lonely. And this story is kind of all about the humanity of the beast. So far, what we've seen of Nathaniel is he is a monster. He is not human. He has no feelings. He's just pure cannibalistic rage. And this episode really brutally humanizes him. Most of the episode does focus on him and his relationship with the fishmongering family. There are some interesting bits that happen with some of the other characters. Thatcher is no longer the kind of lapdog of Shine. After Shine's rough treatment of Costello, he's like, ooh, maybe I've aligned myself with the wrong person, and he breaks away from Shine. He uses his own powers of deduction to learn that obviously Reed, Jackson, and Susan are definitely in that theater run by Mimi. Basically strikes a deal. He's like, look, I want to help you guys out. Shine is a batshit crazy person, and he needs to be taken down. So let's do what we can to do it. The repercussions of Thatcher no longer being Shine's lapdog is that he's demoted. He goes from being a detective to the desk sergeant, so he takes Drummond's job. Meanwhile, Dove promotes Drummond for turning in that letter. So everyone's fortunes are changing. The first couple episodes you were really rooting for Drummond and against Thatcher. I loved Thatcher last season. I thought he was a great snarky, guns blazing kind of character, and I was quite shocked that he went so against Reed and everything so quickly. It's interesting to see halfway through the season now that he's switched back his alliance to Reed, and that Drummond and Matilda have turned against Reed. We investigate a little bit more about Shine. What we really know is that he's clearly not all together. That was evident from the first episode, but we're seeing more of this kind of, he's got something wrong with his head. He's seeking comfort in opium. So we'll see where that takes him. They don't explore it too much or say a lot, but we witness him in the opium den and having these headaches and head pains and things like that. There's a really nice scene between Homer, Jackson, and Mimi. He's thanking her for the aid that she's given them, harboring them in her playhouse. And Mimi, that character, she steals so many scenes that she's in. That lady's a brilliant actress, and it's a shame that she wasn't in the previous series because she's absolutely killing it this series. But she basically just tells Jackson, look, I hate you. And I hate you more or less because she loves him. They had such a good relationship previously in series 3, and I was really rooting for them because I just liked the way they played off each other. I thought they went together really well. But Susan will always be Jackson's muse at the end of the day. However, I am kind of anticipating a twist, and I'm not going to be surprised if Susan dies, to be honest, and that Jackson and Mimi do end up together. As much as I like Susan and her character, I just don't see a happy ending for her, but I see a happy ending for Jackson, so we'll see what happens. Yeah, so the rest of the episode is literally about Nathaniel. He befriends this fishmonger family. The kind of owner of the business ends up dying, the father, and he helps the daughter and the son, and the daughter also has a young child as well, a little boy. So he invests in them because he's lonely, and he finds some friends in them, plus he thinks the lady is a little bit cute, and he really jeopardizes his position because, they ask him to help at the market in Whitechapel, and he does so, and he nearly gets himself caught. He's being very sloppy. He's exposing a lot of information about himself to this family. His brother Dove finds out, and he's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And he tries to cause a rift between Nathaniel and the family as well, the Sumner family. But things just take a turn, and Nathaniel ends up sleeping with the daughter Prudence. It's sad and scary because, it's sad because you see that, oh, this Nathaniel chap is actually quite human. And so far we've just seen this brutal animalistic beast of a man. So seeing him wanting love, wanting affection, wanting companionship, and seeing that there are aspects of him that he is kind of a good person, and you're like, well, how did you become so bent? But you're actually kind of, there's a nice person underneath you. So that was very interesting and really well written. I was incredibly impressed with this episode. It's a much slower episode because it's not about there's not a lot of tons of huge progression. It's definitely that midway point where things are a bit more relaxed. But yeah, I mean, what they did, they made you kind of fall in love with this monster. You're like, oh, darn, I kind of wish you weren't a bad guy, because you're bizarrely rooting for him to get with Prudence and then for them to have a happy life. But you're like, that can't happen. That just can't happen. This show just knocked it out of the park. It was absolutely brilliant what they did with that story and with that relationship. And of course, it tragically falls apart at the end. Prudence's brother, he's a bit of a drinker, temperamental and angry, and there is a dinner that doesn't go to plan. He gets into a bit of a scuffle with Nathaniel, and Nathaniel decides to leave. So he leaves their house, and then Prudence gets into an argument with her brother as well, and then he starts slapping her quite violently. Then Nathaniel breaks in and just beats the shit out of the brother and then kills him. Prudence is like begging him to stop beating him up, but then he just kind of gives in to his rage and bites his neck, and then blood is just gushing all over the place. Rather grotesque. Prudence is trying to stop him, and he puts his hand on her mouth and then kills her by mistake. He's just kind of left with this dead brother who's pooling in his own blood, and then this woman that he just slept with a day ago, now dead in his arms because he's killed her. So he is just death. Wherever he goes, death is. So as much as he wants to be human, as much as he wants to have real relationships, he can't, because he is a bloody monster. Now, she does stab him in the back before he kills her. Basically fumbles his way back to his brother's house and collapses in the garden. And that's where we last see him. He's kind of bleeding a little bit and losing a bit of consciousness. So what is his fate now? I seriously doubt he's dead. He'll be part of the climax of the show. I think we're probably edging towards the downfall of Shine first, then probably concluding with the downfall of Dove. It is a bit of a shame that we're not seeing any more of Rose, though. I mean, she was obviously brutally torn up by the death of Drake, and there is absolutely a void in this show now, with Drake not being there. I mean, it just feels sad, and feels slightly empty, but in a good way. It's not like one of those things where the show doesn't feel complete. I mean, it feels complete because it's lost one of its main characters, but they're playing that really well in this final series. And the arc of Matilda, at the moment, I really hate her so much. I just feel like she's selfish, and she's bratty, and she's self-righteous, and she's just annoying at the moment. And the way she's acting and the way she kind of betrayed her father, it just really annoys me. I mean, for a girl who was held captive by a crazy guy and his wife, to be so kind of arrogant all the time and still believe the lies that this crazy man fed to her about her father and stuff. It's just kind of like, if you look at Reed's track record compared to this crazy guy you lived with, like, grow up. I don't know if they will course correct this, or if she will just become a character that I dislike because of her own self-righteous dickheadery. If she was a real person in real life, I wouldn't be your friend. But yeah, so a really nice slowed down episode to explore this this humanity of the beast and how he just cannot be human. Very good episode. This series is just, it's just, the way it's shaping is wonderful. So what did you think? Comment below, and we'll catch up next time.